Keith Hanse and Jackie Leonhard are here this morning from Northwoods Community Realty. Good morning, you two.
Good morning, Jeff.
I was teasing folks a little bit earlier about what we're going to be talking about as far as the specific topics. But Jackie, maybe you could first of all tell us a little bit about Northwoods Community Realty, your company.
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, Northwoods Community Realty is a company that I created after being a real estate agent in the Tomahawk market for about 8 years. Decided to go it on my own. Created it to give back to the Tomahawk community. That's hence the name, Northwoods Community Realty. I wanted to take a portion of our proceeds and give it back to the community, and I do that through the Star Foundation.
Who does that? Who does that? I mean, seriously, I mean, when people learn about that, they must be a bit surprised and taken back at least a little bit. You just don't hear about that in business these days. I
actually got the idea. I was at a real estate convention, and there was a lady that was a speaker, and she did that. And really? I thought, that is amazing. And I've always, given back with my time. I'm on multiple committees, right. And I think that's even sometimes more valuable than your dollar.
Sure. And I noticed that you have hired employees there at Northwoods Community Realty who kind of have the same mindset.
Correct. And we, look for people that would fit what our mission is. Yeah. And I got a great group of people.
Keith Hanse is one of those guys serving in our country's armed forces. Thank you for that, Keith.
Yep, you're welcome.
Continues to serve our community as the fantastic boat driver for our water ski team here in town.
Yep.
What else keeps you busy?
JV2 volleyball coach for the high school, and then assistant director for Northwoods Community or Northern Wisconsin Stars Volleyball Club, and then I coach the 13s.
So you have a full slate.
Yes.
Don't sit at home too often.
No, I'm not there very often.
And I know we see other people at your office out and about in the community all the time, too. So Northwoods Community Realty, when people choose this real estate firm, they know that they're getting a firm with people that care about this community. Yep. I think that's hugely important.
Yeah, I think it's part of the Tomahawk community, right? I mean, It's a very giving community, and I think we all, do our part.
Absolutely. Let's get into some real meat and potatoes topics here. I told some folks earlier this morning on the radio that we'd be talking about aging parents and their home as a topic as we talk about real estate here. Usually we talk about the market and things like that, but apparently you've been seeing something going on in the market. That's why you wanted to talk about this particular topic. How would you like to address it, Jackie?
Yeah, we just have seen this quite a bit lately in a couple of transactions that we have, and I just want to bring it to people's attention that you think it's a great thing that you're doing at the time, and I just want to open people's eyes to really finding an estate planner, an attorney that is well-versed in doing trusts or irrevocable trusts versus a regular revocable trust, versus doing life estates. I don't think people realize exactly what the implications can be when you do a life estate for your parents, or your parents are like, hey, I'm just going to put, the house in your name, and then they can't take the money if I go in a nursing home. They've upped the dates on that. So I think it's 7 or even 8 years. I think they just changed the rule.
So they can't do it the week before mom and dad are going into the home. Okay.
Right. So how do you time that? 8 years. Yeah. And then now you put it into this life estate, and now we had one. Well, actually, we have 2 right now. Life estates. There's 5 children, or on the other side, there's even one has 12 children, if you can imagine that.
Wow.
And so you're actually putting your property into all of your children's names.
Okay.
And then you can live on the property for the rest of your life. That's the life estate.
Okay.
But really, it's not your asset. So if you did go to the nursing home, that can shelter that. And mom and dad are feeling good that, they can't kick me out of my house, right?
Sure.
Sometimes as you get older, you're afraid that something's going to happen and they're going to make me move, right? Mm-hmm. So it's basically saying that you can live in the house, for the rest of your life. And then after that, it automatically goes to your children. No probate. Great. But unfortunately, now we have one. Mom and dad are moved out of the house anyways, right? They couldn't stay there. Mom and dad are out. Now we have this estate with 5 children's names on the deed. All 5 have to sign. All 5 get to split the proceeds of the house. Mom and dad don't get the proceeds. Right. The children get the proceeds. Even if you're saying, well, I'm going to my children are going to give me the proceeds anyways. This is still an income to you.
Okay, so
whatever that income is, you have no basis. You have mom and dad could take that money, and because it was their primary residence for at least 2 of the last 5, they would have no capital gain on that. You have nothing, so you have all gain.
Yeah.
So now you're adding $50,000 or even more to your income, and now you're just going to give it to the government. Or a large percentage at that point.
So most of the time we have to assume that when mom and dad are thinking about this, the house is already paid for. So if they make that sale, they keep all that profit, but if they pass things on, and like you said, all these kids now are going to be stuck with capital gains taxes, income taxes, and things like that they may not have been aware of.
Right, and that's the whole point. If they don't have a gain in it, that's the whole reason they're usually putting it in there, is
Sure.
because there is going to be this money here, right? That potentially could go towards their care. If they went into a nursing home, the government's going to say, hey, what assets do you have? And they take them. And if you do go into a nursing home and it hasn't met that 8-year or 7-year time period, they get the money anyways.
Sure.
They'll go back to it. And so that it's just a conversation that you really need to find somebody that knows what they're doing, to go over all your options and what is the best for your situation. And one other thing, so you have 5 children. You've got one child that maybe they have major medical issues and they have medical liens, or they have child support liens. You go to sell that property, any liens that are against that person, we search, the title company searches them, and all those liens have to be paid off before the sale can move forward. And it doesn't matter if it's beyond what their portion is. It could eat up half of the income of the house. If you have one kid or one, sibling in the group, that came on some hard times and has some liens against them, all of those have to be paid. We've come across that too. And so you just don't know. Somebody could get a divorce,
Sure.
Medical things happen. So when you're doing this, you're trying to predict the future, and something really bad could happen to this person in the future, and it could definitely affect the whole rest of that transaction.
And the rest of the family.
Right.
Which could create some bad feelings.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't need any of that during some of those tough times. So I guess the subject here then would be to who makes the first step, mom and dad going to the kids, or the kids going to mom and dad saying, we need to start looking forward here. We need to talk to an attorney who's really well versed in this and make a plan.
Exactly. And usually the only way to shelter that is a irrevocable trust.
Okay.
And they can be expensive to create. We just did one for my mom, and there's very few attorneys that do them well, so it's kind of a specialty thing, and so it can get kind of expensive. So then you have to play, whether it's really worth it in the end. If you do you actually have enough assets to shelter. My grandmother, they thought they did the irrevocable trust, and they didn't, and we found out later, and it was too late by the time they went into needed care. But to be totally honest with you, the care that they got, that their income that they had off of their assets, that paid for their care was so much higher than, what you get through, if you're taking the free care.
Right.
And it really, at the end of your life, I was looking at that in hindsight and going, wow, I really want that care. If I worked my whole life for this money, and what care would I want? I'm like, I would want this, and I'm sure my children probably want that better level of care too. So you kind of have to weigh your options and what you're really doing it for. I know it's like our frame of mind that we're trying to save, the government from taking our money.
Right.
But, paying for your own care, on the other hand, is also something that, maybe is in your best interest anyways, and what you really would want at that point.
So as a real estate professional, if a client comes to you and say, can you recommend an attorney to go through this? Is that an ethical situation that you feel good about, or is that something you need to stay away from? No,
definitely. We are going to plan, and we're going to wait till probably June, probably mid-June, in order to get this set up. But we're going to try to create a what am I trying to think of?
We're going to have like a seminar.
A seminar.
Okay.
Thank you.
Got it.
The word eluded me. So we're going to have a seminar and, invite people that would be interested in learning more about this. We're going to have qualified people there to answer your questions because we're not attorneys and we want to make sure that we're giving the right answers. We've just seen these problems that have come up because of, all these other options that people have been using. And I'm like, whoa, what attorney did they get their advice from? Because their attorney set up the life estate. And I'm like, did they really explain all the consequences that could come of it? So we really want to make sure we have qualified people there that do this type of estate planning, not just any attorney, because obviously attorneys are doing these, and I'm not quite sure that people are understanding the ramifications.
You're going to let us know so we can let the folks know when that's going to be?
Yeah, definitely. We have somebody already lined up, and we're going to try to set a date, and we're hoping that by June a lot of the snowbirds are going to be back because that's really, part of what their plans are.
This is really forward thinking. This is proactive thinking, and oftentimes in life we get caught and we have to react to something we didn't plan for. This is a way to be proactive about that, not get caught short and have bad feelings throughout the family, and there's nothing worse than that at a difficult time anyway.
Yeah, correct.
Let's move on to, are we good there?
Yep.
So we'll listen for that seminar information. Handymen to take care of ice dams and venting. It's been a bad year. I've noticed a lot of ice dams on people's houses this year.
Yeah, this year is more prevalent than years past because of that rain we had gotten earlier. It's been warmer. Yeah. So you're getting a lot more of the ice melting, and you're seeing dams on houses that never had them before.
Yeah, and if your house is for sale and you guys have this listing and you're looking at this house that there's problems setting up here and it's going to ill affect the lister and it's going to be a problem that the buyer's going to have to take on. So how do we mitigate that?
So there are a lot of companies out there that do steaming. They'll come up and they'll steam those ice dams right off of there.
Okay.
And on the homes that don't typically have them, it's probably a one-time thing.
Okay.
The homes that get them every year is typically from heat loss and not good ventilation, so it builds up there. But it can cause a lot of damage because as that ice builds up, it goes underneath those shingles, and then that's where you get your leaks from.
Now, how does that affect you, Keith? You're going out to show a property. There's a person who's interested in a particular listing. You go out there and you see this. How is it received by the people looking to buy the house?
Typically, not very good.
It's a red flag,
because,
isn't it?
Let's say the house was listed in fall. They fill out that real estate condition report stating any issues that they may know of. Well, this is a new issue that's come up, and for a buyer, it's always a red flag when you see a leak on there. So you want to try and prevent anything you can, like forward thinking. Get on it, especially this year. This is a very, very odd year for the ice dams.
Do you take it upon yourself to call the owners of these properties that may have some of these issues and say, you know what, I drove by the other day and I see this big ice dam and, buyers are not going to like to see that. You take it upon yourself to contact them then?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay.
Yes. The same with when the cold weather hits, to look forward, say, hey, is your LP, are you on an autofill, the heat, get a heat light so a neighbor knows if your heat drops down. Always looking ahead like that. Same with the ice dams. That's something you don't typically, if you don't see it, and it's not something you go out and look for, but if you see it, you definitely want to let them know.
Especially if you're out of the market during the wintertime. You list your house or your cottage in the fall, and then you go away and don't come
Florida.
Back. Got it. If people that are thinking about even listing their house this time of year too, you'd probably have that taken care of before you put it on the market, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Got it. First-time home buyers. That's a good topic we can talk about here. There are a lot of things that first-time home buyers should do before they come and see you guys, right?
Right. Yeah, this is going to be another seminar that we're going to get together here short time. First-time home buyers, I'm dealing with a lot of first-time home buyers. My children's friends are now starting to buy homes, and I'm super excited to help them and make sure that they have all their ducks in a row. And I have found, me as a real estate agent, am struggling to understand exactly what this person has to do versus this person. This person had, had a rental history, but this one is making enough money and they lived at home. So now, they might actually, in my mind, be better qualified to buy this house, but they're going to have a harder time because they just don't even have a credit rating. They never took out a loan for their truck. They never had they lived with mom and dad, so they didn't have a rental history versus, another one that went to college. So, he's not even near the income level of this, child that, didn't go to college and jumped right into the workforce, and he's got, a savings and he has all of this other benefits, but yet this one is more qualified because they just have a better credit score, and versus somebody that doesn't have any credit. So we really want to educate, if you buy a vehicle, you should really just take a loan out on it, and maybe for, I think it has to be a year. And this is again why we're going to, pull in some professionals that can tell them exactly what they need to do, get a gas card, at least show that you can make payments, because the other thing they go off of is utilities or your cell phone bill, and how many kids are on with their mom and dad forever, right? Because it's just more economical, even if you're paying your parents to be on their plan. So if they don't have those reoccurring payments that they show that they have made, those are going to affect their credit.
I remember the first thing, I bought a TV on time so I could establish some credit. Even something as simple as that, if kids that are out of school want to get yourself a nice TV and put that on time, make your payments on time, that'll help a lot. Every situation is different, though, like you're saying. So what do you do? Pre-approval, that's also another thing that a lot of people might not think of. It's okay, I've got a job now, I'm making a good earning, I want to go and buy a house. And so they start looking at, I like that house right there. Oh, that's how much it costs? Let's go to the bank and see if we can get that money. You ain't getting that kind of money. Pre-approval is very important.
It is very important, and that's where you'll find out that, hey, you don't even have a credit score, and you have to do. It's going to take you 6 months to do a couple things to get you where you need to be able to buy.
Got it. And again, you're going to have a seminar for first-time home buyers, and you'll let us know when that's going to be?
Yep. Okay.
Next topic here. Boy, the time is just flying by here. Getting your home ready to list. You must have a checklist that you go through with your clients, things that you should do now, things that you should maybe just put off. Keith, how can you speak to that topic?
Well, when you're getting ready to list, if they're living here and they're looking at listing in spring, obviously the inside decluttering, making the home nice and neat, fixing those little projects that you may have had on the docket for the last 20 years, like one piece of trim. I might have a house like that has a piece of trim that's still down, but it's finishing all those projects so when people come in, they see a nice finished house, clean, as much countertop as you can show. Kitchens are huge, obviously.
A few years back, we started, and those of us who watch the Home and Garden channel especially, staging a home was a big deal a couple years. Is it still a big deal now?
It is. We've staged houses, especially if they're empty. If it's a situation where they moved everything out, they moved out of the way, and it's a total empty house. We've staged them before, and it's absolutely helped.
When a house is full of all kinds of people's stuff, the owner's stuff is all in there and all the family pictures and everything, how can that be a detriment to a potential buyer coming in?
A lot of times they can't see past that.
Okay.
So they can't envision their stuff in there. If there's a nice, neat home where
a blank
they can
slate,
envision them living there and their stuff, their pictures on the walls and stuff like that. Yeah.
Decluttering is just, I can't stress enough, clean countertops, like you said, and just if you have collections of things, just pack them up. If you're going to move, you're going to move anyways, just get all the collections. And if you have a plate collection or whatever, it's distracting to people. They start focusing on what you have versus the house itself.
Sure.
I tell people, pack like you're going to move, and you will, because you need to get rid of all of the clutter, basically.
Say that again, pack.
Pack like you're going to move, and you will.
Pack like you're going to move, and you will. That's a good one. That should be a thought of the day sometime. Put a hashtag it. Now that you hashtag things now.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So bottom line is you want to create a blank slate for people to fill in their own blanks. So when they come in and say, okay, I can envision my sofa over there. I can envision the TV over here.
Yep.
You want to have that blank slate for people.
Absolutely.
We talked about a lot of that's another proactive thing that listers can do ahead of time before you guys even get there, right?
Right, definitely.
It must be a kind of one of those fine lines that you must address when you talk to a seller that, okay, your house is a mess. How do you do that tactfully?
Yeah, we tried to. I tried to, to say it very nicely. I always like to do things in stories. I've been doing this a long time. could write a book that would have all of these wonderful stories in there. And I always tell the story about the decluttering, or just, the focus, right? I showed this house that had all these bear mounts. He had, probably at least 5 half bear mounts and a full bear mount and a bear rug on the bed, and everything was bear. Pictures of bears and little trinkets that were bears. And so I would show the house, and people would just be totally focused, because there are people that aren't even from the Northwoods typically. Yeah. And they're just like, oh my gosh, the bears. Mm-hmm. And so then we would go away, and they were like, oh, we didn't see anything we liked. And I'm like, well, what about the house on Mohawkson? And they're like, well, which house was that? And I'm like, the house with the bears. And they're like, oh, the bear house. They couldn't remember anything about the house except for the bears. Wow. So we went back and we looked at it again, and they're like, oh, this is really nice. And they ended up buying the home, but they couldn't focus on the home. They were so distracted. People get distracted, and they're just so focused on the bears that they couldn't even see the home.
Soon to be a New York Times bestseller.
Right.
The Bear House by Jackie Leonhard at Northwoods Community Realty. Our time is up here for today, so Keith, want to give you some last words for people that are thinking about right now, I'm thinking about selling my house. Why should they call you today?
Because we'll be right out there and do the best job for them.
Got it. Jackie Leonhard, Northwoods Community Realty, your baby, so to speak, here. I'm sure you're very proud of everything that you've accomplished here, and it's sure nice to have your company here in this community.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you both. And you're going to let us know about the seminar?
Yes.
Yes.
Good deal. Listen for that here coming up soon here on the Big Q. Jackie Leonhard and Keith Hanse, Northwoods Community Realty.